And this is news that you can use from CarEdge with your hosts Zach and Ray, and special guest Brandon from Car Questions Answered for Tuesday, March 28th.
Am
How
I
are
even a guest anymore?
well, I don't know. I think you could be a regular co-host.
I'm cool with Brandon being a regular co-host. We love having car questions answered over here. Brandon, it's good to see you as always.
Thank you guys for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Brandon's channel, please do. Brandon was part of the Automotive Roundtable we hosted last week. We got to just acknowledge that. Thank you to everyone who tuned into that. The feedback was so positive. So please tell us who you'd like to see on future Automotive Roundtables. Obviously, we'll get Brandon there and maybe some others. Yeah, Brandon will definitely be there. We'll get some others. Share in the chat who you'd like to see there. Both of you guys, though, let's start here. What is going on at Toyota? Okay, we've got an article in Automotive News, and the headline reads, I'm just going to read the headline. I'm not even going to pull it up. The headline reads, Toyota says $50,000 plus average new car prices coming this year. If I'm Toyota, that is the last headline I want to be associated with. Brandon, I'll kick it to you first. What went through your mind? You texted me. What was it that you texted me right when you read that?
Yeah, so I said sickening. So Toyota is as far as the dealers that we've checked, we've been checking a lot of new car manufacturers to see the pricing that's been coming out. And Toyota has by far been, Toyota, Nissan, Kia, Hyundai, all those have been literally the manufacturers that have given you the best price point on these four-door sedans. And I think it's fine that Toyota can say average across, because 4Runners are going to be crazy, Tundras are going to be crazy. I think they're talking about their full lineup of vehicles, but it's still, if I'm Toyota, I'm not putting that headline out there. I'm not having my my man in charge coming out and saying, hey, prices are going to be ridiculously high and we're going to keep them ridiculously high. I'm coming out and say, hey, we're still providing a affordable product for you. We still have our Corollas, we still have our Camrys at a price point that average families can afford, and not getting caught up in these everything's high headlines.
What'd you make of it, Pops?
Is there any wonder that their market share is slipping? I mean, I if you've bought into the concept that the average transaction price has to go north of $50,000, then you've bought into this concept that, well, you don't care that you're going to lose market share. You can say, as they've said in the market, they think the second half of the year is going to be so much better than the first half, and that between Toyota and Lexus, they'll sell 100,000 more vehicles this year than they did last year.
Yep.
But that's just hope and prayer at this point. Their market share is declining, and if the average transaction price for Toyota brand becomes over $50,000, then their market share will continue to decline. And what they're saying is, we're okay with that. We're going to make enough money as a major player in the automobile industry to give up market share and still be able to maintain a high profit level for the company.
This was the subheading. All right. Top Toyota Motor North America executives said new vehicle prices will likely continue to rise. Here's the kicker, gentlemen. While supply constraints will ease in 2023, as excess demand that was previously sidelined keeps industry economics robust. What throws me for a loop here is that we can have in the same sentence, new vehicle prices will continue to rise while supply constraints will ease. That is, you don't even have to peek behind the curtain. These automakers are simply coming out and saying, and at first it was GM with idling Chevy production. Now it's Toyota saying, yeah, the supply chain constraints aren't the issue anymore. We just want to price our vehicles higher. What? Like, truly, is this not just setting the stage for like Tesla to swoop in and steal market share from literally everyone? Like, I'm starting to really subscribe to that type of thinking. Go for it, Brandon.
Well, they want to get in on the party that all the other OEMs are doing right now. So, Ford's raising MSRPs, so is GM. I mean, we're seeing it across the board. So I mean, if everyone else is, Toyota's going to do it too, because they can't make enough vehicles right now to supply their demand. So the way that they fix that is by increasing their prices.
But you read that subheading, and they are saying that they could produce more vehicles. They're saying back half of the year they're going to produce 100,000 more vehicles. I think they're making I think they just want to make a bunch of Lexuses. Is essentially what's happening. They're going to badge things as Toyotas that are actually Lexus price points. Like, I think it's a very intentional decision.
I think they are okay with giving up lower end market share to players such as Hyundai, Kia, Mitsubishi, Mazda, Nissan, Honda. That's what they're saying. They're
Yeah.
okay with that. Okay, let them battle for the lower price point buyer. We're going to continue to just work on our quality, work on our marketing, and move our customers, our very loyal customers, more up market. And they're okay with that. There's money in that. And, as the largest automobile manufacturer in the world, if you give up a little bit in the United States in market share, but you make up for it in the rest of the world,
Yeah.
I guess you're okay with that. I guess that works. That's a business model that will work for them. But I think you'll see Mazda, VW, Honda, Volkswagen, Hyundai,
I like how
Kia.
you hit VW and Volkswagen. That is
Yeah, well,
top-notch
because
journalism.
you never know what part of VW. It could have been the Bentley part or the Rolls Royce part, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
but the point is that they're not interested in the lower price points anymore. They've just, that's their way of saying we're done with cheap, inexpensive, lower price point cars. We'll leave that to others to fight that battle with the lower margins.
Just to pull it up on the go for it, Brandon.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably a better business model, because I mean, as the Fed tightens, I mean, less vehicles are going to be bought. That's just what's going to happen. So they want to protect their profit margins, and it's the same thing that a lot of other manufacturers are doing. They're increasing their the cost of the cars that they're actually putting out. They're making them higher line vehicles. They're going to sell less, but they're going to make more per car.
Exactly.
It was interesting, though, and I want to pull it up on the screen so that anyone who watches this afterwards isn't thinking, hey, these guys are just making stuff up about Toyota. They hate Toyota, anything like that. No, this is literally from 19 hours ago, the headline in the industry publication. One of the things they talk about in this, it was down here. Bob Young, Vice President of Purchasing Supplier Development, said inflationary pressures hitting the industry have largely been driven by rapidly rising raw material costs, but that Toyota is, quote, starting to see some retreating in the markets, quote, the inflationary pressures really are driving all of us to work more aggressively and collaboratively on cost reduction, Young said, adding that any easing in commodity prices likely wouldn't flow to end users until 2024. That leaves automakers trying to determine how much of those rising prices it can pass on to consumers, Hollis said. And if they can't be passed on, then it has to be absorbed by the automaker or the supplier. Quote, we're eating it in our own profitability. I question the hell out of that, guys. I really do. I question the hell out of rising MSRPs going up as significantly as they are, and PR pieces saying, hey, it's not our fault. The suppliers and the raw materials, everything went up. We're actually losing money. These are publicly traded companies. We're going to see their earnings. They're still going to make a hell of a lot of profit. I think there's still going to be chip shortage talk, supply chain talk. I think you're going to be hearing that for the next 18 months as a justification for supply constraints, producing more expensive vehicles.
Yeah.
I concur. That's, they like to talk out of both sides of their mouth. We don't want to raise the prices. We're actually absorbing some of the costs, but the costs have escalated so much, that we're forced to raise the prices while eating and absorbing some of that, cutting into our profit margin. That is marketing and corporate BS. Okay, that's as our president would say, that's malarkey. Okay. When I was a young man, we might have said that's pure baloney. Okay, it's just spin.
Yeah, it really is. Hey, so Brandon, we were talking before the show. I want to switch gears a little bit here out of the new car market. Maybe there's good news on the used car side of things you mentioned, and I'm sure we'll be seeing videos over on your channel or head to the auction later today. I want to pull up one thing on the screen and then have a bit of a conversation around what is going on out there in the wholesale land. We've got from Cox Automotive their weekly update, retail and wholesale used prices increasing. So here you go, gang. Gray line, that's wholesale index, or they have a typo in there. It's the Hawaii sale. And then blue line would be the retail index. Look at the dichotomy in used car prices, everyone. Retail prices on used cars are actually down from the beginning of the year from Cox's index. However, wholesale prices are up 5%. That is quite the spread here, Brandon. I know following your channel, you're seeing a lot of interesting things going on at the auctions. What's your read on the room on the used car side? Maybe it's a saving grace. Maybe prices are getting better there.
So what you'll see again next month too is either flat or up again, because that's what's happening right now. And I could be absolutely wrong, but the way that I'm playing it, the way that what I'm seeing at auctions right now, I think we're at peak wholesale prices right now. And maybe 2 weeks ago, actually, because all these dealers that I'm talking to, these cars that I'm seeing going through the auction, prices are starting to get these guys are starting to get weak. There's not as much fighting going on in these auction lanes for these vehicles. Seeing more no sales tick up. We're seeing more if bids, more phone calls being put on cars. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we weren't seeing any no sales because the demand for these used vehicles was so high because tax time, and now tax money's done. I know we talked about that on the roundtable, and like Craig was saying that he hopes that's regional. Maybe, but I don't think the IRS sending out checks is regional. So I think tax money's pretty much over. It was a weak tax season, weakest one I've seen. I've been doing it for 12 years. This is absolutely the weakest tax season that we've ever seen, and I really think wholesale prices are going to come down from here, and then it's going to take some time to move through because these dealers have to get pinched before retail prices will come down. But I think it won't be long before the retail used car market is going to start trending back down like it was before tax season.
What's your read on the room, Pops? Give us some good news.
I respectfully disagree.
Let's hear it.
And the reason I disagree is you look at the black book data that just came out today. Wholesale prices continue to rise dramatically. And when I say dramatically, 0.6 of a point again last week on the car segment. I think it was a little over 0.4 of a point on the truck segment. Overall, 0.5 point for the entire market. And we're not really seeing a commensurate increase in asking prices for the cars. We're just not. The dealers know at this point in time, whatever they're paying for them, that's pretty much what they're going to be able to sell them for, because the banks just aren't going to bail them out right now and overfinance these vehicles. So I think the reason you're starting to see more no sales is because there's a lot of dealers out there with some of their used car inventory that firmly believe that if they hold on to it, they're going to get their money and more as we continue to move into April. There is, every time I talk to my buddy Chip, I mean, all I hear is there's such a shortage of quality used cars. I cannot believe the prices that I see dealers paying for them. This reminds me of right after COVID, in 2021, when the prices just skyrocketed. Every time he calls me, he's like, I don't know what to make of it. This is worse than then. So would I hope that Brandon's right? I would hope that he's right. Do I think he's right? I think there's enough dealers out there that will still continue to overpay, and that will continue to see these used car prices, at least on the wholesale level, going up. I do believe that we'll see a stagnation of the retail asking prices but I don't see them coming down anytime soon unless lending gets really tight.
So the issue with that is that, I mean, these dealers can pay whatever they want to. There is a shortage, but they have to sell the cars. So if people are just, I mean, because the money's not there, interest rates are high, they're just the demand is softening. We're seeing it out there, and as long as these dealers, if they, even if they're still selling some, if they're not selling as many as they anticipated, if they get overextended, that's going to put pressure on the market, even though the supply is low, because these dealers, they have payments coming up, and that's just going to take some dealers out of contention to be able to buy. If you got less bidders, then the wholesale prices, they have to come down.
I hear what you're saying. I just think there's enough there's enough well capitalized dealers out there that will make up for those that are undercapitalized or struggling at the moment. And they will continue to keep the prices of those used cars high, at least the quality ones. Now, the lower priced cars, they very well might see a decline. And eventually, you might actually see a decline in some of the retail asking prices for those type of vehicles. But I think the quality, the cream of the crop, I think there's enough dealers out there that are hurting for used car inventory that they will continue to overbid on those cars, and they will use those vehicles as price leaders to get customers into their stores, especially if what Toyota thinks is about to happen, that the average transaction price will be north of $50,000. It's going to drive more people into looking at high quality, lower priced 1, 2, 3-year-old used cars. Dealers are going to keep paying for those. That's my opinion. And here's the beauty of this, Brandon. We both could be wrong.
And probably are.
So here's where my mind goes, guys, is what are the leading indicators that we should be looking at that would help us build confidence around either of these? Because I'm Team Brandon on this one, Pops. You know how I feel. I think that because I fundamentally don't understand why wholesale prices have gone up so much. And I get it. There's a lack of quality supply, but still, I fundamentally don't get it. I think that that's a justification for why prices will go down. But what would be the leading indicators? So, for example, if we keep seeing sales rates, sales numbers for used vehicles go down, that would be a leading indicator to suggest, okay, consumer demand's not there. If we keep seeing maybe loan delinquencies go up, that kind of is an indicator that strength of the consumer credit is going down. If we had data come out yesterday from TD Bank saying that their floor plan utilization had doubled year over year. So the number of dealers that are actually holding on to inventory is going up. That's a leading indicator. I'm just trying to think, what are the tea leaves we should be looking at so that they can help prove this out as it's happening? Because one final thought here would be, I look at the strength of offer at caredge.com/sell, where we get the offers from Carvana and CarMax and Echo Park. Like, those are very high right now. That to me is a leading indicator of the bubble. If I see that trade-in values are, that's a leading indicator. But what do you think, Brandon? What do you think, Pops? What are the numbers we should be watching for here over the next couple of weeks to see which way this is going to play out?
I will say, if you use Carvana, they're typically behind the market. So that's probably not the best thing to use. I mean, looking at the wholesale data just from Cox is probably something good, because that retail, whatever happens in the wholesale data, retail should follow it. That's what's supposed to happen. But I mean, like Ray was saying, I mean, nothing makes sense in this market, and you know what? We're both going to be wrong on something. Just the way that I'm playing it, what I'm seeing, like I'm trying not to buy any cars right now, because I really think that wholesale prices are going to do what they do every year, and that's right after tax time. There's a crash. I'm not saying prices are going to crash. Don't use my words like that, but seasonality of used vehicles is a real thing, and every year prices spike right around the same time, just like it happened this year, and it's happened every year before this. And then after tax time, guys get overexposed and prices crash. That's what happens every year. So I'm banking on that to happen like it does every year. It's a weird year, but it was a weird year last year, and it happened last year. It was a weird year before that, and it happened that year too. So that's what I'm banking on.
I still respectfully disagree. Because Ordinarily I would be team Brandon on this. Ordinarily I would look at historical data and I would say exactly what Brandon said. These are the things that you normally see. This would be normal. What we haven't seen recently is anything resembling normal. Okay? The amount of increase in the wholesale values of used cars in the first 3 months of this year is abnormal. It
Yeah.
is higher than it normally would have been, much higher than what we normally would have expected it to be. It reminds me of the movie Young Frankenstein. When Dr. Frankenstein asks Igor if he got the brain, and he said, "Yes, I did." And we said, "Well, what did it say?" It said the name on it was Abby Normal. The whole damn thing is abnormal. And what we have suspected for the past 3 years to not be sustainable has been sustained for that amount of time. Now, I don't
Yeah.
see anything that indicates to me, okay, that we're about to venture off back into historical norms. I pray that I am wrong.
Hey, one other leading indicator, you both mentioned it, tax refunds. Look at this data from Cox Automotive here. Essentially, what you're looking at, guys, is every single week of refunds going out. So we're on the 11th week of refunds going out. That's that chart, or that's the line off to the far right, the columns. The blue column, that represents 2019 average refund amounts. The red is last year, and the orange is this year. And so for every single week of refunds that have gone out, you can see, with the exception of like week 8, 7, and 8, refunds have been lower, significantly lower than they were in 2019 and lower than they were last year as well. So Cox is tracking this. Go ahead, Brandon.
And I think this is going to be a big factor of like the differences between where me and Ray see is that even though supply's not getting better, even though quality's not getting better, just that chart alone is going to show you that these dealers are not able to move through the inventory that they just recently bought. And it might be a thing where we're kind of both right, where there's a temporary just a drop in wholesale prices because some of these exposed dealers, they have to liquidate some of their inventory, pushing that stuff to the wholesale side. And when they liquidate it, it's not going to bring as much money as they paid for it to begin with. But so that's going to further push prices down. So it might be that there's a temporary dump like we usually see, but after that, prices will go back up. I don't anticipate that, but that's a way that maybe we can see something from Ray's side. I just think these dealers are in trouble right now with the inventory that they have, and as prices come down next month a little bit, they're going to, the prices at wholesale level are going to come. There was a craze right before tax time. That's what happened. So at wholesale level, even if it's just a blip with when they come down a little bit, they're going to come down just because there's going to be less dealers that are trying to load up. Dealers are not trying to load up right now. They're done loading up. So that might be a way that that both of us kind of get it right just in a little bit. But Ray's shaking his head already. So
no. I'm shaking my head that I honestly, I'm sitting here, Brandon, and as hard as this is for me to admit, I have no friggin' idea anymore as to what we should expect. You look at everything. You do it. I do it. We look at the stats. We look at the sales. We look at the pricing, and we use logic to then come to some type of conclusion as to what we think the future will bring. That's what I've always done. And for many years during the course of my career, my logic, while looking at the numbers, turned out to be correct. And what between Zach and I have espoused over the past 3 years, using that very same logic, hasn't proven to be successful. So I can sit here today and admit I have no idea anymore, because none of this really, even from your perspective, I believe, none of this makes sense anymore. I mean, what we have seen over the last 2.5 to 3 years is illogical based on everything we knew prior to the past 2.5 to 3 years.
All right, gentlemen, I want to switch gears just a little bit. Let's demonstrate the severity of this fluctuating market with an example. Then I want to share something with everyone that's live with us. I had this sent to me via Instagram this morning. I obviously made it anonymous and shared it over on Twitter at Shefska over on Twitter. The message that I received, guys, it read this. Let me zoom out just a little bit. There you go. Hello, saw your Santander video. Have an auto loan I'm behind with them. $36,000 balance. The vehicle's worth $19,000. These stories of woe, these stories of, and I told the gentleman, I said, your best bet is to start paying more on principal every single month and hold on to that thing as long as you can. But that's $17,000 underwater on a $19,000 car. That's, yeah.
I'll say one thing, and Brandon will probably back me up. He thinks he's $17,000 flipped. It's probably more. I'm just saying. I mean, from my experience, when people thought that they were X amount of dollars flipped, they were usually so far off it was frightening. So he thinks his vehicle's worth 19 while he owes 36. I wouldn't be surprised if his vehicle's worth 15 while he owes 36. What do you say, Brandon?
I mean, he's probably looking up numbers online that some online thing is selling saying the value of his car. But I mean, it's only worth what somebody would pay for it. And if he went and tried to get $19,000 for it, it's probably not going to be able to sell it for $19,000.
That might be a retail number.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it puts into perspective. We're going to hear more and more stories like this. And again, I got that in my Instagram DMs. And obviously, we're here to try and help people that are in situations like that.
Absolutely.
The best possible thing we can do, just to be very clear, though, is to help you before you make that decision. So I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. We had an awesome success story from Brittany. Thank you to Justice and CarEdge.
Before you do the success story.
Yeah, sure thing.
I just want to share one thing with folks out there. And this is one of the things that I used to teach my salespeople to ask. You know, most people, when they come in and they have a trade, they are not aware that typically they owe more on the trade than what it's worth on a wholesale level to the dealership. So anybody that's thinking about buying a car, a customer, this is the question I want you to ask yourself, because this was the question I had my salespeople ask the customer. How are you planning on handling your negative equity? If your answer to that question is, I'm planning on rolling it into the next car, you're not in the market to buy a car. You're in the market to strangle yourself. Take yourself out of the market. You need to have a plan as to how you're going to be able to handle whatever negative equity you're bringing to the party, whether that means cash out of pocket, whatever. But if your plan is to just roll it in, do yourself a favor. Stick with the negative situation you have now, as opposed to trying to make it even worse. Now you can get on to your success story. I apologize for that.
I just, I like a mix of reality and then positive. We had a huge win from this woman named Brittany in our community. Just wanted to thank Justice for his experience and knowledge in helping me to purchase a fantastic 2022 Honda Pilot. The car was a loaner vehicle from the dealer, less than 2,000 miles. The negotiations with the dealership were a little tough, so they're not very willing to budge on price. But with Justice's help, we were able to negotiate the forced add-on addendum from $1,300 to $499. The dealer on the final day of negotiations removed an additional $600, which brought the out-the-door price to just above $42,000, which is my final offer. We are extremely pleased with the car and feel that we landed an excellent deal, considering the car was practically brand new with all the features and beyond. I didn't have to settle and feel extremely blessed in this process. Now, here's why I chose the success story, because I'm on Brandon to get on social media. Look at this, Brandon. Look at this. I am very thankful for finding CarEdge on TikTok, folks.
TikTok.
The first time I've actually
purchased.
Yeah, exactly. The first time I've actually purchased a product from TikTok. So that says a lot. The level of confidence I have gained in this process is priceless, as the thought of buying a car was overwhelming. The membership, $75, was absolutely worth the savings, and I would recommend CarEdge to anyone purchasing a car. Got to get you on TikTok, man. Car questions answered on TikTok.
So, I mean, I've got an actual job. I do videos on YouTube. I have a 4-year-old. I have a wife that wants to see me every once in a while. So, you're lucky that you even have me right here, right now. So,
All right. Well, those of you who want to see Brandon and car questions answered on TikTok, you can't say I didn't try. Final thing, can I get some live feedback from both of you? We've got CarEdge report going live on Thursday. I have it working. Can I share it with both of you and get your feedback?
absolutely.
Yes, real quick. I have another show to do in 15 minutes.
You do indeed, Pops. We'll do this very quickly. I ran one for a 2022 Toyota Camry just to show you guys really quickly. It's this Camry that is currently for sale. So I ran it over here. Let me pull it back up. CarEdge recommendation. The expected cost to own this Camry for 5 years is $18,059. Gives it an A rating based on local market conditions. The fair value for this vehicle is $23,125. That comes from our friends over at Black Book. We've got the probability of a major repair is 2% for this vehicle in the second year of owning it. The Black Book values for trade-in, private sale, retail. The cost of ownership broken down every year. My favorite chart, guys,
Yes.
the value versus total cost. So you can see the expected value of the vehicle in each year versus the accrued total cost to own the vehicle.
Wow.
What a crazy concept. All right, so I know you got another show, but Brandon, Pops, can I get the quick feedback? What do you guys make of the first version of the CarEdge report?
Brandon, you can go first because you know I've got to pump it up. That's my job.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like one thing that I have noticed that people really like watching my videos is that people really want to know what dealers are paying for these cars. Even if there's going to be substantially less than what they're actually going to be paying, they want to know how much they're getting ripped off. So that's I would believe a good feature to have. Just is from doing my videos, people seem to be very interested in that.
I wish we had a reliable source that wouldn't get us in trouble, i.e. like getting our dealer's license and pulling Mannheim data and then them suing us, just can't do that. So you can't share that data publicly, but I have some ideas around the actuals from the state registrations that we're working on. But Pops, your thoughts?
Well, I'll say I think there's really valuable information there. And I will say this on top of what Brandon just said. People want to know what a dealer paid for it, and they want to, and then they think, well, when the dealer marks it up, that they're getting ripped off. But what they don't see and what they don't know is what the cost was to actually bring the vehicle back to the dealership and what reconditioning costs there might have been. And so the profit margin might not necessarily be what they suspect it is based off of what somebody paid for it at the auction. Brandon knows as well as anybody that oftentimes every car you buy at the sale is a crapshoot, and you're hoping that you're rolling the dice well that day. But there have been times that Brandon has bought cars and that the repairs to turn them into something reliable and drivable for his customers far exceeded what he thought they were going to be.
I will tell you that I think it was either 2 or 3 weeks ago. I ran 10 cars at auction. Just we hold our turds for tax time to dump them because we'll get a little bit more money. Of those 10 cars, I think we lost $14,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it just happens. I mean, that's the cost of doing business. If we go a year and we only have to take like a big loss on 14 cars or whatever, then we're doing good. We try to keep our loss rates like around 5%. So we're higher than that now because quality is down, but we're probably around the 7-8% range of every car that we buy. There'll be 7% of them that we lose money on.
I love it when you guys share nuggets like that. Well, hey, the report comes out Thursday. We'll get tons of feedback, both from consumers and dealers. And hopefully over the next couple months, we'll be able to get it really, really strong and it can be something that's useful for people. Thank you, Brandon. I know you're heading to the auction, so go have a successful auction experience, AKA don't buy any cars. And Pops, you're live over on CarEdge Electric in about 10 minutes. So enjoy your second show. And both of you have a wonderful Tuesday. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Brandon. I'll talk to you later.
Well, I appreciate it.
Guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye.